Hey, Coach B,
What's up, MJ?
how are you doing?
I'm good, man. You all right?
Yeah, doing all right.
How's school?
It's good. Moving along.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had our parent teacher conferences last week, so kind of midway point for the semester, and then counting down the days till Thanksgiving break.
Don't count the days, make the
No.
days count.
Yeah, there you go, for sure. Yep, teed you
I
up right there.
I get it. It's all good, man. You're still good for whatever that day is, the 15th.
Yeah, I'll be
Okay.
there.
I'm gonna set
What?
up. I'll probably do that. I got to check with Carrick to see exactly who he's bringing. I've
Okay,
got most of the slots lined up for coaches, but I'll probably do that early next week of try to get everybody on a Zoom chat, whatever works, just to go over. I'll share the Google Doc where you'll be at it. The morning is pretty straightforward with coaches stuff, a lot of fundamentals, and then basically it's just for the kids portion. After I get them warmed up, you're just in a spot for like 10 minutes with different kids.
awesome.
So yeah,
Sounds
yeah,
good.
it'll be good. Be really good. All right, here with Michael Jacobs, ABCA Division III high school coach, assistant coach of the year, St. Thomas Aquinas, but Kansas City native, also Hawkeye native, alum, but back to back state champs for you all. Michael, thanks for jumping on with me.
No, happy to be here.
Hey, what'd you learn from Mike Boddicker growing up?
Oh man, where do you start? I think just the nature of being a pitcher. I think a lot of stuff that maybe is kind of missing now, but just learning how to. Oh, I remember he worked with me a few times before I went up to Iowa, but just playing catch the right way, being able to throw a changeup was a big one because I know he was known for that a lot. But I think the pitchability component was huge. That's kind of what set me apart as I came into school or came into college.
And your change was probably your best off-speed pitch. What did he mention? We get a lot of questions on change-ups. What did he
Mm-hmm.
mention to you about the change-up?
I think honestly, and it honest today, that probably the best drill for that was just to play catch with it as much as you can. He mentioned to like to play catch with it further than the pitching distance, just to train your arm. Use your eyes so you can see what it does, the life that it has. Focus on the feel of it rolling off your fingers. All those little things that are super important for that pitch to ultimately develop and look like the fastball coming out of your hand as much as it can.
Do you think young kids overcomplicate the changeup? It just seems like people try to go too much to the edges and then it's way off the plate.
No, I agree, and I think I when I talk to a lot of our incoming freshmen that come in, when they throw, if they throw a changeup, they try to be too fine with it, kind of like what you said. Instead, like going to the black or going to the corner of the plate, just use the plate because it's going to move, it's going to have good life, hopefully, or we can work on that. If it has depth, even better. But just to use because we want it to be a swing pitch. Because if you throw it the right way, you're gonna hopefully trick the hitter and get him out front and get weak contact or that ground ball or that soft fly ball.
What have you used? I'm sure you're dealing with a lot of different hand sizes with the kids that you coach. What different
Mhm.
grips are you using depending on the hand size?
Um, Honestly, I think for someone with just normal average hand size, that the circle change is always a good one to go to. I like using the seams with that. But honestly, I think too, maybe if it's somebody younger, just putting three fingers on the baseball and then playing around with the depth in the hand and maybe the distance between their fingers and just experimenting with that, which is why, when you play catch, you can do all that kind of stuff.
That's what we kind of focused on too, was trying to keep their middle finger where their dominant fastball was, whether it was four seam or two seam. We tried to keep the middle finger close just because they were used to ripping their fastball with their middle finger in the same spot and then trying to manipulate the other fingers around that if we could.
Yeah, for sure. Agree.
You're right in the middle. You said you just got done with parent teacher conferences. How have your teaching responsibilities developed over time?
Um, I'm currently in my ninth year teaching. So teaching is a second career for me. I was in banking for a little bit and started coaching right after. school, and then I was in banking for 3 years, and that was tough to do both. So, um, my mom's a teacher, so I kind of knew how that goes. But also, being a teacher, you get off at 3 or 3:30, whatever the end of or dismissal is. So it's easy to roll right into practice versus a 9 to 5 job or 8 to 4 or whatever you have. But I think too, it just has helped me with kind of my confidence and just explaining things. It's definitely made me a better coach. It's a lot easier to, like I said, explain concepts, teach things in different ways to hopefully reach, different, because everybody learns a different way. Um, or, you kind of explain the same concept in 3 or 4 different ways just because that's what kids need. But I think just overall, my confidence in my ability to coach, my confidence and ability to communicate, and just kind of along those lines.
We never really talked about it when you were in college, but when you were a business major, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I really hope he gets into coaching.
Yeah, it took me a little bit. I was super indecisive when I went to Iowa. I even started off as an open major because I wasn't quite sure, and then when I wanted to declare, I chose business because there were so many options. And then I'm not sure why I chose finance originally, but it ended up working out for me because it saved me on some classes to take when I got my teaching certificate because I had all those business electives done. So that helped me get right in or get into teaching a little bit quicker. So kind of teaching business elective classes. So
What are the
funny how
benefits
things
of being
work
at a
out.
private school?
Um, I, I'll definitely I'm biased because I went here and it's kind of how I grew up. I grew up going to a Catholic grade school, um, and then obviously high school. So K through 12, I knew nothing different. But I think just some of the things that really stick out to me are just the culture and the family type atmosphere is huge. And that's in a lot of places, but I think it's just a little bit different here when you have the faith component mixed in. Um, which I think is, there's a lot of benefits beyond just the obvious for that. Um, the community part, community service is a huge part of coming to Aquinas or being a part of Aquinas. And again, that's such a game changer for someone's just ability to give back, how it makes you feel better, and all those things. And then the discipline part too. I feel like at private schools, I mean, it's there's a different standard that kids are held to, or there's some expectations there, which is, I think, a good thing. It takes some kids a little bit longer than others to get used to that, and it's definitely not something that they see the benefits of right away. But long term, you know, that's the habits that you'll fall back onto when it comes time to do things or find that self discipline to get up when you need to or do something you don't want to do that you need to do. All that kind of stuff.
How many alums do you have where they're sending their kids to Aquinas?
Oh, quite a bit. There's tough for me to put a number on that, but there's a big alumni base. That's I'm just thinking there's a football game here tomorrow, but they have big alumni tailgates that I walk by because I work a lot of those games for supervision and that kind of stuff. But there's a good following. The community, the surrounding community here is pretty big, and it's a pretty special reach that it has.
And I think that's where it shows up is in the sporting events with this
Yeah,
little spirit piece.
agree for sure.
And you grew up in a large Catholic family.
Yes, yeah, definitely. A lot of younger siblings. So, and actually, my younger brother is a coach on staff. So last year he was my first year back. He was our JV coach, and then last year he was our another one of our varsity assistants. So that was pretty cool.
What'd you
To
relay to
have
him
him.
about getting into it?
I think just helping, just to obviously to continue to be in baseball, but ultimately just to give back to the game because it's such a huge part of your life, and obviously the playing part ends at some point for everyone, and then there's so many people that poured into me or gave to me when I played that I only felt like it was the right thing for me to do. Um, to do that. Plus, it's pretty cool when part of your job is to be a coach in the best game in the world.
And you feel like you seem like you're kind of built to be an assistant coach too.
I enjoy that. I really like what I'm doing, and I feel like I mean, I've coached for a couple different head coaches, and I feel like one of the bigger parts of being an assistant is to try to complement what the head coach does. Obviously, you do everything the way the program is set and all that, but you complement what he does because that just helps the development piece as well.
What number state championship was that for Aquinas?
Um, number 5 for baseball.
Love
Yeah,
it. Did
yeah.
you know you're gonna? Did you know with the group coming back that you had a chance to repeat?
We there was we had two really, I mean, we had a really good senior class, and we had two really special seniors last year that were outstanding baseball players. But I think they were even better leaders and better teammates, which is, there. I know it's a very common term, but they were like the ultimate glue guys last year because we had probably our more talented class was our junior class last year, and maybe seniors this year. Um, but like, and these guys were super talented. One's at Purdue right now, and another one is at Hutch Community College, and they could both play baseball for a really long time. But their ability to lead, be good teammates, hold people accountable, and they really kind of held up their end for like the definition of a player-led team. Like they were two special kids. But the senior class in general, I don't want to shortchange the rest of them, but overall as a group, it was a really good group.
Were they that way as freshmen, or did that develop over time for them being leaders?
So I was at a previous school when they were freshmen. I first had them when they were juniors, but they both were varsity players. So from what I know of them and just the relationship that I have, they have that, kind of that uncanny ability to, lead by example and, work hard and pull people along when they need to. At least that's kind of my observations from the past 2 years with them.
How early are you getting with your new kids? So the freshmen that walk in the doors, how early are you getting them?
So we'll start some speed and agility and strength training right after Thanksgiving. And then it's the past 2 years have been better. We have been able to start like pitchers and catchers the 4 weeks leading up to the start of the year for 2 days a week. So I'll be able to see some of them then. But just kind of seeing their athleticism, the ones that don't do a winter sport, we'll see. Um, but our head guy will teach PE, or he teaches PE, and he has a weights class, so he'll see some of them there. But a lot of them will play football, so we don't see a ton of them baseball wise. A little bit maybe in the summer. We have a ninth grade camp for a couple days, but that's tough too because you're right in the heat of summer baseball, so um, some kids won't come or they won't know about it, or you know it's tough to do camp Monday, Tuesday after a a weekend tournament.
With your returning guys, when will you start their throwing program for the spring?
So I kind of put together a generic return to throw where it starts super slow and kind of builds into long toss and some short boxes and some skill work and drills and bullpen. That kind of starts after Thanksgiving. A lot of them, and pretty much most of them, are a part of an academy or club where they have their own pitching program with that. So I kind of, with them, I try to communicate with them as much as I can, but I kind of blend what I want them to do with what they're currently doing because the last thing I want to do is, overwork them in the off season, but I also want them to work on more than just, you know, whatever, they're working on. It's adding in some of those little things that like come the first week of practice or tryouts. We want to make sure that we're practicing those as well.
How much will you communicate with the facilities guys on that side?
Um, I know a lot of them, and I'll reach out to them from time to time. So we will communicate because I've coached at a few different clubs, just to make that connection and again just be a part of baseball in the summer. Um, so I'll talk with them, especially too if someone's coming back from an injury or kind of if they're working on a certain part of their delivery. So that way, because the spring is so short, you want to maybe kind of pick up where they left off um, once the spring starts, because you don't want to, if they're working on something, you don't want to completely change if it's not beneficial for them.
Do you have any set drills for your guys with delivery stuff?
So there's a few, like two or three. Actually, there's four of them that are a part of our weekly schedule that I really like because it works on different parts of their delivery. So like it's typically they'll do their drill work days or 2 days after they pitch. So you have your game day, then the next day is really light range of motion. Then the day after they'll get some easy long toss, and then we'll do a little up the mound drill where we kind of turn it the other way just to work on getting downhill and using our lower half. And then we do a little, I call it a little leg lift drill where they'll get to their gather position, and I'll flip them the ball, and then they kind of finish throwing. We do a little breaking ball drill where their back legs on a chair to kind of isolate the wrist and the fingers to spin the baseball. And then the past couple years, I've started to add in the walking windup because I like that to promote direction, keeping a fluid delivery, and also while their body's moving to be able to gather their weight. So I like those a lot because they teach those that parts of the delivery without getting too mechanical, if that makes sense. So it's just kind of one set, 3 to 4 or 5 reps of each. And it's a part of their weekly schedule, just so they get that piece worked in as well.
You use chair drill to help guys get over their front side better too.
I like that. I think even in the drill with the breaking ball, if they, all I really tell them with that drill is to, spin the ball to the bottom of the zone. And I feel like if they can do that, and we're about 50 feet away, if they can execute, then I feel like they're able to get over their front side. I like to up the mound drill for getting over the front side because, it looks super awkward. It's super weird if you don't know what it is. But the first time I have kids do it, they're just like, "You're asking me to do what?" And I really just tell them, "Hey, give me a strike at the bottom of the zone." And if they can do that, their body moves the way they want to. They get downhill, they finish over their front side, all the stuff you want them to do in a game.
We'd flip that for hitters too. If guys were having a hard time getting downhill with their swing, we would flip basically off the BP platform. They'd hit.
Okay, yeah.
Justin Toole, shout out Justin Toole. That he spent a lot of time. As
yeah,
a freshman.
I've seen that. I like
on
that
the platform. So that first bullpen, when they're getting back, how many pitches? What's that look like when they're getting back? They're building up. What's that first bullpen look like?
So if we're talking like tryout week, I like to ideally see them off the mound twice. Like we'll kind of split them up. So like that Monday, Tuesday, like upperclassmen one day, freshmen, sophomores the other. And it's a real brief like script, like 16 to 18 pitches where they kind of show me all that they have. And then, with it being low volume like that, we can bounce them back, 2 days later. Ideally, if, weather-wise, we could like to go against live hitters for like an inning, 4 or 5 hitters. But if not, it'll be just a little bit heavier bullpen where I can script it out to where we see more of their pitches. We'll put, a hitting dummy in, just some stuff to make it more game-like to see, them execute better.
Do you have to make many cuts?
Not very many, thankfully, because then again, being an assistant coach, I don't have to do a lot of that. But I think we had 5 or 6 maybe last year, and then the year before maybe a little bit more. But yeah, that's worst part of the job. I feel for our head guy when that day comes.
You have many basketball players?
We do. We have a decent amount. Pretty much a good amount of the freshmen, which is great. We want them to do as much as they can their freshman year. And then we had a few last year, which is a battle in its own because you want them to focus on the sport that they're in. So you kind of have to figure out a way to get their bullpens in. Just speaking of pitchers, but then position player wise, I feel like it's definitely workable where you can maybe hit a couple times a week, but you definitely want them to focus on the sport that they're in versus, trying to do both.
I mean, but what do you recommend to those guys that are in the middle of basketball as far as trying to on-ramp for their arms?
I think I will get with those guys. We'll meet during school and we'll kind of take it week by week, and we'll try once we get into January or halfway through January. I'll tell them we try to get off the mound once a week, and we just build that way. And I can try to work around their game schedule. Like our varsity guys play consistently Tuesday, Friday, so we try to get it somewhere like on maybe a Wednesday or a Sunday when it's a lighter practice for them. But it's just to me, it's important that they do something, and it doesn't have to be a lot because you don't want to show up once basketball's done and hardly picked up a baseball because that's just an injury waiting to happen. Or you just bring them back really slow, and with as short as this spring is, they're not ready till almost the last month.
You have them do a J-band circuit, maybe to stay active, even if they're
Yeah,
not
no,
throwing.
I love those. I think they definitely have them do some sort of arm care. I know I have them do a J band routine before they pick up a baseball every day at practice, just to help with that, the mobility and the active warm up that they already do.
What you said that day after throwing off the mound, what does that look like from a
Like
mobility? Yeah, from trying to get mobility back that day after.
so that will be so I really don't I the day after they're on the mound or a game day is really the only day that I kind of cap how far they throw. I really don't want them to go more than 90 feet, just because I want it to be just easy range of motion. And then I feel like the day two or the day after that, we can start to do some easy long toss to work out more soreness. But I think just the day after, we'll do easy catch, and then we'll do a little bit like dry stuff on the mound where we work on controlling the running game. Um, and then they'll get some conditioning in, and that just kind of varies if they're a PO versus a two-way. And then that's one of the more heavier like recovery arm care days.
I mean, what does the conditioning look like? Go through that. I know position players are different because they're getting their sprint
Mm-hmm.
work in on the field, but go through kind of what that conditioning looks like for the week for them if they're a PO.
So I try to mix. It's more sprint based and agility based. But I do like to have a day or so of like a little bit of a clean out run. So if they're a two-way guy, I'll wait to do the conditioning obviously till the end of practice because if they do any type of running with the team, that should be good enough based on what they do. But usually maybe the day after we'll do a little bit of maybe a little bit of a light jog, and then I'll also mix in. They'll also have some sort of sprints because I kind of tie in like their performance the day before. I keep track of winning counts, like getting ahead versus falling behind. So that's kind of a more of an incentive to do that. So we add a little bit of sprint work in based off of that, and then the days after that. Some days will be agility, like we'll do some cone drills, like 5-10-5, or kind of I have just a little bit of a sheet that they look at and they kind of pick their own, or we'll do some sprints, or and again I'll mix it up as the year goes just to give them some variety. Jog, sprint, jogs are always
Tempo
you
stuff
know
is good.
yeah, and then so yeah,
When do
if
you
that makes sense.
introduce new pitches at all? I'm sure you probably have some freshmen coming in that don't even know how to grip the ball.
Yeah, honestly, to me, it's when I watch them play catch, you can just kind of see how, like, obviously the importance of playing catch. We could talk for hours on that, but even just gripping a normal four seam grip with your fingers on top and your thumb underneath, and having them backspin the ball when they play catch, because there's so many times when you see the side spin or whatever. Just kind of starting with that, and then I'll definitely spend some time watching them and seeing what they do well, and then kind of making note of what they struggle with and maybe kind of what I see. But I try not to change stuff immediately. Now, there's some stuff that you want to, but usually, and that's probably one area where I've probably gotten better as a coach is I try to observe and listen more and give them some time and then kind of see what they do well because you never want to change somebody right away, or at least I try not to.
How are you communicating with them? It's a different generation with the phones. How are you communicating
Yeah.
with them?
Like, are we talking like right now or more during the
Anything.
season? Usually, like I kind of like I'll use email to send or their weekly schedule out. Like I'll put that together and like what day they are starting on Monday. So I'll use that, or sometimes I'll just snap a photo of it on my computer and send it in a group text. Um, and then we use an app called Remind. Our head coach does that. And then he'll send some, kind of a variety of stuff. But I'll usually just use the text message or the email because they all, have their email connected to their phone. It's just a matter of them checking it. But usually, like that's the part two. And then even the text message piece, like if they're maybe they have a bullpen later that day, sometimes, I'll ask them what they want to get better at or what give me a goal for this bullpen, and I'll kind of work that into the script that I have for them.
You have team building stuff you guys do with them?
We um we do. We kind of like in our off season workouts. There's usually like some sort of competition that we'll do. Um, whether it's a sled push or we'll do like med ball relays. I think that is a good part of that. And then a lot of times we have one baseball field here. So like when we have all four teams early on that are practicing there, we set up little stations where we rotate. And usually one of those stations is a classroom where, we watch a leadership lesson or maybe we go over cuts and relays. But the leadership portion is, kind of falls in the line of that as well.
Do you have a favorite leadership video?
Oh man. I It's tough. There's so much out there. I think it's hard for me to go away from like the Ken Revisa stuff. Whenever like I'm talking with someone and they're struggling with, their emotions or slowing things down, that Evan Longoria
Still
E60
watch
is
the
always
E61.
it's
It's the
it's
best
it's a
one
good
there
one.
is.
None of them have really seen it, and I tell them too. Like I've seen it over 50 times, and every time I watch it, because if I send it to someone, I'm going to watch it again just as a refresher. But I always get something new. But it's
For
all,
anyone listening in, if you
yeah.
haven't seen it, email me. I will Dropbox it to you. I Dropbox it out still. Like for people that haven't seen the E60 with Longoria and Revisa, email me, text me. I will Dropbox it to you. I think it's the best place to start with your team when you talk about peak performance stuff. I think it's the best video to show. It's
Yep.
still, to this day, still the best video to show.
Agree. It has so much to unpack from it, but it's so simple. And that's honestly when you're working with high school kids or just anybody, I feel like simple is the way to go.
When are you introducing that with them then on the field? So obviously you've got your classroom sessions. How are
Mm-hmm.
you trying to reinforce that in practice with your pitchers, with their routines?
Um, I'll kind of get a feel for once the season starts, like what they already do, and then I'll kind of add it on an ad needed basis because I don't want to add too much to their plate because I feel like in the information age that we're in, there's so much out there. I want to get an idea of what they've been working on and kind of what their process is or what they're thinking. And then if I see, obviously they're thinking about five different things, I'm like, all right, well, let's try this little routine where we don't get on the rubber until we're ready to make the pitch. If it takes 30 seconds, if it takes a minute, obviously we don't have the pitch count that they do at the upper levels. Um, but I think that's just, a simple example right there, just to keep them present, which honestly, huge part of the mental game right there.
With your bullpen early preseason, I mean, you're trying to get ready to go against somebody else, but there might be some mechanical stuff that you still have to work on with guys because they're
Mm-hmm.
young. How much of that time in preseason is mechanical work or competitive work? You know what they say, over the rubber, over the plate.
Yeah, no, I love I talk about that all the time. Those two different mindsets. I try to focus on delivery work as much as I can in the outfield during catch play. Like I can't forget who I heard this from, but I know like the pitching lab is the big thing now. And I tell my guys like the outfield is my pitching lab. This is our time to work on, if it's, your direction with your lower half, or if it's, your glove side, or if it's staying in your backside a little bit longer. And sometimes I'll introduce just different drills for them, just for them to work on, and like when they play catch, just do a couple. And then as you move back into your long toss, let's blend it into what you're doing. Now, if it's something really drastic, like we're super far across our body with our stride in the bullpen, maybe we'll take a break from the script that we're on, and I'll put a PVC pipe down and make us more direct. I do one thing I put in last year was I created like little tunnels. So like we use spray paint, and there are two little white lines that go from the sides of the home plate as far back as we can. And I kind of use that as their runway. So like let's keep our head in the runway for as long as we can. Just some simple little things like that. But I try my hardest to do as much delivery work as we can in the outfield and in long toss. And then usually like when they're on the mound, I try to video almost all of it that I can with my iPad, or I have my phone kind of set up on the fence kind of behind to give them different perspectives, and be like, so here's what we need to work on. Here's a great time to work on it. But if it's something that needs to be changed right away, I think you never want to waste time with that. But
How
I've
often
also
are you
been
sharing the videos?
usually a lot of them will ask for them, so I'll kind of give them my phone at the end, and they can kind of
They
work
can
through it that
airdrop them.
way. Yeah, or if I see something when I watch it later that night after I get done with whatever, I can kind of use iMovie and kind of break them apart and send them over, like you said, or I'll just show them the next day. Be like, hey, when we play catch today, let's really work on, maybe getting our hand out a little bit sooner so our timing's a little bit better. Or, if I slow it down to the release point and their heads yanked off to the side, let's keep our eyes level today on the glove until they catch it, or something, just little cues like that.
How
And
many
then if
are
they
you,
work on
how
it
many of you
enough,
new guys have even thought about their glove side or what their glove side is doing?
oh man, I don't know. It's a great
Is
question.
that the
I
biggest
mean,
issue with your new incoming guys? Is their glove side?
yeah, I see that, and I think too a lot of times just obviously they're young, and some of them haven't really hit puberty quite yet, but just the body control, the body awareness is huge. So, maybe just something as simple as stepping to your target when you throw, or um, just staying closed a little bit longer. But yeah, that glove side is a big piece too. I like that a lot because you have guys that have good glove sides. I feel like they stay in their backside a little longer, which the benefits of that are pretty good.
Are you guys using any technology with them outside of the video stuff?
Um, we have so kind of a little partnership with a physical therapist down the road who has a TrackMan. So the past 2 years, he's come and kind of set it up for one of our bullpens during tryouts. Um, so that getting that feedback is good, but we don't have like any of the bells and whistles, which those are good, but I'm okay with it. To me, I'd rather like when they're on the mound, have them to focus on execution and competing, because to me that's ultimately what they're going to need to help the team when they're on the mound in a game. So I try to tailor all the bullpens to those two principles right there.
Do you have a lot of different styles with your arms?
There are a decent amount. We actually have a couple. We had a young guy last year who was a JV guy. He was a little bit lower slot, which I love those guys. And I feel like a lot of our infielders that are two-way guys are naturally lower than normal. And then sometimes, I kind of have to help them get there, um, because, they kind of tick up a little bit when they pitch versus on the infield. And I just kind of remind them, hey, when you get a ground ball at shortstop, are you thinking about what slot to throw? Just get it and get rid of it. So let's pitch like a shortstop, or you have an outfielder who throws from a higher slot, and then he does a curl hop from the outfield, and it's his natural slot. So, but it's I don't know. They kind of get out of their natural slots in a number of different ways. So,
And that's where video can help too,
yes,
right? You
definitely,
show them
yeah,
their defensive throws and then try to sync that up on the mound.
for sure. And then I love like even I'm not hugely with technology, but the little iMovie app, you can blend the videos, or not blend, overlap or overlay, whatever it's called. And they can kind of, once they kind of see that, they're like, oh, okay. And it's just a matter of, let's implement it when we play catch today. And then if you do it enough and you're disciplined enough to creating the habit, it'll translate to what's next, which is the mound.
Say you got a guy shut down, what's your timeline to bring him back healthily?
Well, it kind of depends on, you know, what went wrong. And then obviously communicate with the doctor, parents, whomever. But honestly, um, I think it's Alan Jaeger, his rule where you want to be, if you've been off the mound for like 2 weeks. You want to try to have 4 weeks of catch play before you get back to the mound, just to build that foundation. Which is why, like, when I give out the offseason program to them, like they start playing catch after Thanksgiving, and we really don't get off the mound till beginning of January. So, but yeah, I like to, and I'll always err on the side of caution because, we're in high school and, they've got a much brighter future than where they are now. And I mean, that now is important because build those habits and learn as much as you can, but, you know, there's more exciting things ahead if they, do the right stuff to get there.
What are some other life skills that you guys focus on outside of leadership?
Um, Time management is huge with, the academic standards and some of the course loads that these kids have. You got to be able to keep a schedule. You got to use your day planner, maybe move beyond recording it in your phone and actually write it down. Um, the time management piece, I think obviously, and I'm preaching to the choir here, but in baseball, managing failure, um, you know, also understanding, and this is something I struggled with huge as a player, is understanding that when you work hard, it's not going to lead to immediate success. You just have to keep doing it, and that's super frustrating. Um, but I think just any type of little concept that involves the mental game is huge because we see it so much with kids these days where kids that have mental health issues or they're suffering from anxiety or they're just nervous in general, which a lot of people are. Just learning to deal with that and understanding that it's okay and having those tools to use it and learn from it, I guess.
Yeah, because I mean, you were one of those guys, and we had a lot of conversations when you were a player too. Like you worked as hard as you could possibly work, almost to a detriment of.
Mm-hmm.
You do have to get away from it a little bit too. If you could go back and do it over again, what would some of those maybe recovery tweaks be for you to, so you're not completely just banging your head against the wall the entire time?
I think kind of what you said, learn to, like, number one, not take myself so serious, and then understand that this game is hard. And the managing failure piece, I was horrendous at as a player. But kind of just taking a break from that. And honestly, like, that's probably like, becoming a dad the past year, that has helped me with that so much because it forces me to move on. And it's, baseball, sports are important for kids' development, but it's just a part of their day. And, to get away from it and, then come back to it the next day and just pick up where you left off and just honestly keep showing up. So,
I mean, how much
so
do
I think
you?
those.
I mean, it is it's our epidemic. I talk about this a lot on the circuit with the suicide rates going up. It's been steady since 2016. Shocker, that's when Facebook got hot.
Mm-hmm.
Shocker, that's happened. But how much time are you spending with your players on that part of it, like reaching out to help? Obviously, they can talk to their coaches, but you may have to go to a medical professional to help some of that too.
No, I agree 100%. And you always want to keep that in mind when you're talking to a player about those issues because it's such a serious topic and you never really quite know, I feel like, how bad it really is. That's why I feel like it's so important to get to know your players and even just as a teacher, your students, because you see it all the time, but it's a part of our world today. And like it or not, it's something we have to deal with and just something to work through. And I think we all can. It's just a matter of, you know, having the right tools, having someone to talk to, because I think that's so important. You can't just internalize all of it and but let it bottle
I
up
think
inside.
this
That just
group
leads to
is
more.
probably they're great, but I think this group now internalizes a lot more stuff than past generations. And then when it does come out, it comes out in very harsh, tough ways because it's basically it's like a boiling pot. Like it builds up. A lot of them just internalize it, but then it comes out in very unhealthy ways for a lot of kids now because they've held on to so much.
Yeah, I agree. It's, something bottles up for a long enough time, you're going to explode. And usually that's not a good thing. So. but yeah, just kind of using it and finding healthy ways to work through it is, and that's just gonna, help you, be able to use that for the rest of your life because that's gonna happen later in life too, whether, it's 20s, 30s, or 40s, you know, stuff like that will come up. So,
You guys have always had a lot of college players come out of there. How have you all kind of handled the ever changing landscape of recruiting?
um, that's a good question. There have been I've been very fortunate to coach a lot of really good players. I think too, a lot of the recruiting and the high school stuff happens in the summer. And I mean, that, but I think too, just keeping honestly the kids in the present and focused on, what they're doing right now. Something in the future obviously is something that's uncontrollable to a certain extent. Just keep getting better today and focus on today, and the rest will take care of itself. I know that's probably not a great answer, but I feel like it's with how much, and again, I don't really know a whole lot can probably what you do about how the college landscape has changed. I don't follow that too much, but just focus on getting yourself better and figuring out where you want to play, and where you land, and just keep getting better from there.
Your players that do go on, what are they relaying back? Maybe things that they didn't expect. I think you guys probably do a really good job of preparing them.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some things that they relay back that maybe they didn't realize was going to go on when they got to college?
I think probably the biggest thing is just how challenging it actually is. Like that freshman, no matter where you go, that freshman fall is just so, I know this is a common term, it's just such a grind. Especially if you go far away from home and the new routine of school and baseball, it's probably the hardest semester, that in your life so far. I think just being able to, understand you're going to fail, but just continue to show up and just keep going. And eventually, the habits that you have will work in your favor.
You calling pitches for them?
I do. It depends on the year. The past couple of years I have. And I know that's such a hot topic. But I communicate throughout the game with our catcher and what he sees, and I talk obviously the pitcher and the catcher I talk to the most. And I like a lot of the pitchers that we have know a lot of the kids that we play, so I ask them for their input, like how do you want to attack this guy? How do you want to start him off? And then the catchers too, like what are you seeing? They kind of give me a signal for if we're on the plate or we're off. But also too, I give them to shake me off whenever they want. Now there are certain times that I kind of trump them, but a lot of times too, you can shake me off because I want you 100% convicted in what you're doing, but you just got to have a reason why. So that way we can talk about it. You can tell me what you're thinking. I'll tell you what I'm thinking. But it's just because they have such a better view from where they're at. But so I have called pitches the past couple years. At the previous school I was at, we had, and a lot depends on the catcher and, his maturity and his feel for the game. But yes, to answer your question, the past 2 years, yeah, I've called a lot of the pitches.
How do you help them reset in between innings before they go back out?
Um, Number one, I give them a breather. I try not to talk to them immediately, right? When they get to the dugout, usually if they need to reset, it's because something happened that they didn't really care for out there, so they're probably pissed. So I'll give them a minute to, catch their breath, rethink their thoughts, and then we just kind of get back on in attack mode. Maybe if it's something that we can learn from right away that happened in the past, but I try not to focus on that too much. Just get him back in the present and be like, hey, this hitter's coming up. This is what he did last time, or this is how we attacked him. Let's put all of our focus on what we want to do, not what just happened.
With your bullpen guys, I'm sure a lot of them have never had to come out of the bullpen. How are you helping them transition to a bullpen role?
That's a great question because I think back to when I did that because it's just
you did both. I mean, you started some games, but you threw out of the pen too.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And it's just a new routine and getting used to it. So, number one, just getting them to embrace the role. I think pitching out of the bullpen, especially at this level, is maybe looked down upon a little bit. But I just try to tell them this is really cool. You can impact more games. you come in high pressure situations. And nothing against the starting pitcher, but like I love having guys that I trust the most at the end. So sometimes we kind of flip the roles with some guys, but to kind of get them ready physically, maybe I'll structure their bullpen like that. So like maybe let's say we got to get hot a little bit quicker, and then we're gonna get a hitter in right away. You've got 8 pitches, and then I'll put in the hitting dummy, and you got 2 hitters for this pen. You walk them, you owe me a pull. If you strike them out, you're good to go. So just kind of getting creative and trying to structure it as game like as possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, love it. Your starting pitchers have pretty much the same pre-game routine as far as when they get up, when they start all doing everything.
For the most part, yeah. Usually, I give them a little bit of a script. Some of them don't really know, and before I came here, they wanted to play catch with a team and then sit around for 30 to 40 minutes and then go down to the bullpen. And I'm like, that's great, but that's not really the best way to do things. So I'll give them a little bit of a script where like 30 minutes before we'll do our arm care and we'll stretch on our own, then we'll play catch, and then the goal is to go from the outfield to the bullpen. So we start with that 30-minute mark, and then it's on me to kind of keep track of everything. So that way, we had 10 minutes left over, so let's push it back a little bit. But then within that framework, I guess they have the freedom to kind of do what they need to do because they ultimately know themselves best. There are little things that I'll throw in there. There's still kids that will want to warm up in the windup only, and I'm like, well, I like your confidence that nobody's going to get on base, but we got to prepare in case somebody does get lucky and gets a hit, which happens every single time pretty much.
You have them throw to batters before they go out.
I yes and no. Sometimes I will. I really like them to throw their first inning in the pen. So I kind of let them. I'll tell them that, and then I'll let them kind of figure that piece out on their own. And then if they don't know what to do, or if maybe they don't do enough, then we'll talk about it, and then I'll interject a little bit. But like if we're at home, we have one of those hitting dummies in our bullpen. I love to slip that in there. But then when we're away, sometimes they don't have those, so we just kind of have
to take it with you.
That we could. That's a good point. I used to do that. Sometimes when those guys don't fit too well on a school bus, but but those things are a little
turn
bit
that into a team
awkward.
thing. You could dress them up in Aquinas uniform or the opponent's uniform.
No, that's a good point. And sometimes, if we have an extra catcher, which rarely happens, I'll have them stand in, or another PO that's done catching in for the outfield. It's tough to get them to stand close, but they like to.
Do you have to catch pens?
I don't. Thankfully, occasionally
I'll left-handed catcher's glove.
I need one. Yeah. I'll mix in some of the drill work from time to time, and I'll play catch with guys and help them with their drills. I think it's maybe they like seeing that their coach mixes in sometimes with them. But yeah, I'm not brave enough for the bullpens. So, but luckily we have enough catchers that will be able to do that.
What have you learned from Coach Sabbath?
Oh man, where do I start? I
didn't know Coach Sabbath, and then when I came over to the Royals Academy, you're like, you need to get in touch with Coach Sabbath. Which thank you for that.
No problem. He's been in baseball for so long, and did the junior college circuit for a while. Was at KU for a couple stints, Fort Hays State, and then wanted to spend more time with family, so went back to the high school. And I think such a great baseball mind. Like he will probably forget more than I'll ever know for baseball. One of those guys. But I think other than just the baseball part, I think being able to handle people and being able to, communicate always in a professional way and handle a group and being able to get a point across. That's a very unique quality that is he's definitely really good at, and that's just, to me, he's awesome at that. And then all the baseball stuff is icing on the cake, which I can't do it any justice how much I've learned from him on that side of things, whether it's offensive philosophy or base running or even too, he's pushed me so hard to really understand the pitching side of things and challenged what I've done, which has just made me, you know, that much better as a pitching coach or just a coach in general. So
What are some of his questions? Because I think we need good challenges. Like, what are some of his questions about the pitching side?
I think just something as simple as like if why are you doing that drill? Like, what's the point of that? So I gotta you have, and again, you need to have that reason because ultimately everything you do needs to be able to translate to the game. I feel like otherwise I feel like you're kind of wasting your time. Now there's sometimes you maybe step back and work on a couple other things, but like any of the drills that we do translate to the delivery. I try not to get, I again, like I said earlier, I try to keep it as simple as possible, but you know, asking me why I'm doing something or hey, like I had a good idea of a little like a schedule for like a weekly schedule for pitchers, but he made me you have to put this on paper, you have to post it so they see it. And then like, when it comes to bullpens, um, he made me create just like a little bit of just a generic script. So like when I get tied up and have to go throw batting practice, they have this piece of paper where they follow just different sequences, when they're throwing to the hitting dummies. Just things like that just made me see the bigger picture while also focusing on a lot of the smaller details, which I struggle with all the time still. So,
No, you don't. You were as
but
detail oriented as anybody had.
so sometimes when I get too deep into the details, the bigger picture, you miss that. So I feel like you got to find that right balance.
You have many guys that work out with Nathan Hemphill?
Um, we there's a lot, not so much at Aquinas. There's a few. One of the players here has an older brother that has, or a cousin, I think, that has his own little workout facility. But I still talk with him every now and then. Used to be in a fantasy football league with him, and I brought up the bottom in that league. But when I was in Olathe before here, man, we had a lot of kids. He actually kind of started to run some of our off-season stuff our last year there. But yeah, anybody that comes to me that's looking for a place, I sent my brother there. My youngest sister who ran track, she went there. Anybody, my wife coaches swim, and she was looking for someone to run their off-season. I was like, here you go, you have to use this. But I would recommend him for anything and everything.
At what point did you figure out you were going to live stream your wedding?
No, I can't take credit for that. That's all my
It's
wife.
unbelievable.
She,
Shout out to her.
yeah,
It's unbelievable. It might be the one and only.
no, well, so we got obviously married during COVID,
That's
and
unbelievable.
they capped. Like I have a big family. Her parents are separated and both remarried, so she has a big family too. And we were capped at I think it was 40 or 50 people. So we just had our super immediate family there, a couple other close friends, and then the system was there at the church because they live streamed mass during COVID, and then it luckily fell into place, and she obviously she killed it with that. So all props go to her on that.
Any recommendations to youth coaches, parents, players right now?
Um, I think just for in the baseball side of things, just learn the fundamentals or teach the fundamentals as best you can. Like obviously playing catch, just doing the little things, having little routines in place for infielders and outfielders, and then you know little drills in place for hitting the offensive side of things. But I think you can't over practice the fundamentals because and it's super easy to see freshmen coming in who spent a bunch of time on that. Um, and then I know probably people say this all the time, but just watching baseball, not just the highlights on Twitter, but you know,
It's
just
hard now, man. I see so
yeah.
many mistakes at the big league level on the bases. It drives me nuts.
Oh, like you
We
just see
talk
some of
about
that
it
in the World
repeatedly.
Series. Yeah.
It's just unbelievable to me that I, for them railroading everyone forever about not bunting because you're giving outs, like base running mistakes, those are outs you shouldn't give up, but you see them every night now, where it's just I don't get it. I don't understand it.
No, agree. And I
It's
think,
not my place though. It's not my
yeah,
place.
yeah. I just again try to focus on what you have and get the players you have better. But I think you can't emphasize enough the fundamentals because we always say that less baseball IQ in a lot of these kids, but I feel like if you focus on the fundamentals, you can mix that stuff in and they see that stuff and, it does get boring, but that's,
It's not
it's your
boring
job
though.
as
It
a,
helps you win games.
no, agreed. And that's
Championship
your job
baseball.
as a coach to, you know, tell them that it does win games. And when you can show them that kind of stuff, it helps them move past that boredom, I feel like.
All right, give me your fail forward moment, something you thought was going to set you back, but looking back now, it helped you move forward. Could be professionally or personally.
I think, oh man, probably, I hate to say this, it's probably my inability as a player to play as long as I wanted. Obviously, every kid that plays baseball wants to, make it to the big leagues or get drafted and play pro ball, but I was not able to do that for many reasons. But I think it forced me to move on, and I know with my parents pushing me just to, you know, start giving back. All these people that, like I said, poured into me and helped make me the player I was, now it's my turn. So being that servant leader and, you know, giving back to kids. And that's the cool part, watching them, develop and do things with their career that maybe they couldn't have done, or maybe they could have. But I'd probably say that my inability to continue to
Yeah, but it
play
wasn't for
forced me to
lack
get
of
into.
effort. Like, and that's from my coaching perspective. Like, you knew you were the player that was putting all the work in, and sometimes it just doesn't work out for guys. Like, and I think as a
Mhm.
coach, you can live with that too because you saw that you were working extremely hard. It just doesn't work for some guys. Like sometimes it doesn't happen the way that you want it to happen. But from my perspective, it was like, okay, he's doing everything he possibly do to make himself as good as he can be. And so that as a coach, you're like, okay, you're good with that. That like obviously you want everybody to go on and pitch in the big leagues, but
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's what we tried to relay to guys too. Is like you can look yourself in the mirror when this thing is done, and I think you can do that. You don't have any regrets on that because you did work as hard as you could, and that I think is all you can ask yourself. That when your time is finished, that you did everything you humanly possibly could do to get the most out of your ability.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
How have your morning or evening routines changed now that you're a new father?
No, man, they completely flipped. No, I enjoy them. Like ever since my daughter came a little over a year ago, I spend my mornings now just helping her get ready. Like she just started a month or two ago at the daycare at the school I teach. So, um, feeding her breakfast, spending a little bit of time with her in the morning, and um, takes a little bit of stress off my wife, so she can focus on getting herself ready. But so I used to try to work out in the mornings, and now I kind of push that to later on at night if I can get to it. But yeah, in the mornings, it's kind of I get up early to kind of make sure I got my day planned out and everything set up the way I want to teaching wise, and then I try to get that done before I get my daughter up because otherwise it won't get done. But I think too that's
And
probably the
some
biggest
days you
change.
just won't get to it.
Yeah, agree. So you just do the best you can with what you have, and then do better the next day. But no, that's been the biggest change too. And then, having the opportunity just to hang out with her at night and get, put her to bed and help out with that, obviously gets in the way of whatever routine you had beforehand, but totally worth it in my opinion. So,
You have any social media or phone rules for the team?
no phones in the dugout. And then, one of my favorite rules, from Coach Sabbath is if your grandma's sitting next to you, if she wouldn't approve of what you're about to post, don't do it. So that's we just talked about that in personal finance as we get ready for interviews. Same rule applies. So
Yeah, for sure. What does winning this award mean to you?
I'm extremely honored and grateful because I know there are so many great high school coaches out there. To be in the top three with all those three levels is just a huge honor, and I can't, thank the ABCA enough, and super grateful to be around, the head coaches that I've been around, especially Coach Sabbath, and then obviously the players here at Aquinas make me look like a 10 times better coach than I am. So, and then obviously, my wife and my family and my parents, just all the support that they give just means the world. But super grateful and extremely humbled to be a recipient of this great award.
What's some final thoughts before I let you go?
Oh man, I think I just gave it to you right there. Just thank you. It was great experience right here. I've never done a podcast before, so awesome to do this. But thank you to the ABCA. If there's anything I can do to help anybody, feel free to reach out. And again, it's the greatest game in the world, so super happy to just be able to still be a part of it and still give back and help other people accomplish things that I was able to do at one point in my life. So,
Thanks for your time, MJ. Love you, man. I'll see you in
yeah, love you
Columbus.
too, Coach.
Appreciate you.